In English, on page number 11, I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha.
From now till my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma,
Sangha.
and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness in its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering in its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings
Avoid equanimity, feel bias, attachment, and anger. This ground anointed with strewn with flowers, mountain, hill, and
encircled by the four continents,
surrounded by the sun and the moon.
I
I
visualize this Buddha field and
offer it.
May
May all living beings enjoy the pure land. Elam Guru Kameya Daya. Amen. Good morning and Tashi Delik to all of you.
좋아요.
가장 주시 주투바 도사 중원 도사 그리 줄든지
맞은 도사.
도사
오늘은
today 17 right
15.
huh
15.
15 oh, okay we're on 15 yeah 15
한 로망 도위부스가 시기 성내들성 승림을 나요. 제가 기회시진의 시기 기원도 와야지 나오는 근데 그 중앙 왔어. 또 저당다 선수습이 냠는 세트 너 참아도 로종라 로 정화 지능 아주 되는 양즈는 디쇼라 당보 지능 아주 저당 토말 지도 배고 또 시잖아 너무 좋아하는 용거를 때나 르베르베 곰바이나 또 용터지를 꼼나 타월만 지르비 니티 오 간단 요마인세트 곰리지나 강연나 용터지레스 거든 차다네 곰리지에 온다 더망고스 미망고 초도지 위스네 디키니 미시야랑즈네 속말라베 찬로셰나 또 청년들스는 알아서 소소견 요하던 것도 미망초 견 요나 소견들라나도 멕시코 공부 망bar ko ngone jina kyonto ngelen chi go do ngado kyont ngelen chen do bayo mar kar janga zo su ko ngala ma te so na te ma thina ma na ge do to no janga do kyon yo na kyont she na ne te kong do ngor pe na mi kong ji zu bu tong tong da de na kyo zu bu tong tong do ji she na ngon je ko zu bu tong tong wen de she go da ngado ka ko ma ro te cha te na ji ngara su kyon yo de kyont de 창리 드샹즈 견드 파진네 청안 봐 대냠데 장안 받던데 측배 중안 받던데 측을 로어지네 말안 만나 양즈네 상즈 선배 가서 tel라네 기위 더 시키스 기원도 와jes어 tel라네 어디 신인 능리데 아주 소소 기위 신인 아무튼 나중에 창리 들어와 띵아 견드 요라 견드 코너강에 진지게 잡아래 대처때 배 판토 셈보를 그때는 냠는지네 때라 기습진에 봐서도 견 정말로 그런 거 견차 등인지 등이 특지 지식인 새로 어떤 지식 연구를 했어.
So here again, as we read and we have to understand this is the practice of Bodhisattva or practice of the mind of enlightenment, and it is kind of something highly standard practice. Um, um, but nevertheless, it is something achievable. And if we study, if we practice the practice of familiarity and the practice of meditations and so forth, once one could able to establish that standard or highly respected practice, like a Bodhisattva practice. And because here in this stanza is mentioning about the how one should show the great respect to others and consider him or her as the spiritual friends or spiritual master or mostly spiritual friends who are able to recognize my fault, and therefore I should thank him or her instead of taking a revenge. Is among the and told me that my I did this or this is my fault, and of course we kind of become so uncomfortable, and we get mad, and eventually we try to get revenge to that person, and it's like something if we have a wound, if someone touch on the wound, and then we have a pain, right? Similar kind of like that kind of pain we will experience if someone point our faults. Even though it is true or not true, we still cannot take that words or whatever they express. And for example, let's say I'm a kind of short person. If someone say, "Oh, hey, you are short persons," and kind of criticize me, even though the reality is I'm short person, even though it's real, but we still cannot take it. That will think it's a kind of like criticize or bully or whatever, and will take revenge, right? But here it says, whatever they blame us or tell us or say about me about so kind of nasty thing, instead of like thinking him or her as my enemy or taking revenge, one should think them as a spiritual friends and thank them that, oh, how wonderful you are, you find my faults. So therefore here when we read, if in the middle of a crowd of people someone reveals your hidden faults and abuse you for them, to see him as a spiritual friend and to bow him respect is the practice of a bodhisattva.
That's too bad. The positive to meet dans la rage tower nayan. Nakita pula margin the laboratory wajasi lalians. That just on the sambado. Chatang along jitin kamdani soso be that say queen name kangichani rosini pasosila. So nami non spoken was jongwaina. Hotel ten part garden symposium, Sarako Tenen Jaguar, then jiting in the tongue was shakir. Yana Korchik the march in Tilly Dawchini, that's Sarako Sosulape, Nobacani, the digger. Then jiting come among you, then you, the inside the digger. George on the Michigan, dollar dozen towers in it, Sosula Donald Stani. Shock on Tani and Nicola, the Yalun, the Katanga, the Institute, Chopanga, the Digbe, Donald, Sosulan, Nambajena. Tangazuna, the control de la Nicola Soup and the quoting on the Yaguzan pitch Barungo. Or some December than the Marisco. So the same is on Tangaruna. Or the Koyamaji Korona, Pantoa, the Dinen Rojas in its in the line, the me touching Rochani, the console from Corona. 요모왕 마시왕 아니 차당 간시 코랑 로로만 버드시거니 근데 장을 잡지네 코랑 요 말로 장을 잡되네 그 근데 뭔가 정보를 이제 간서 때라 마모가 띠기지 마리 셰동라 타도라 소바 텔라파 무겠네 띠 왕거 콜라니 라메 버튼 중화래 삼 동에네 양지 지을 수 베이 도나 간다즈다 아마질라 보고 가시는 딘 보고식 나바 뇽반로 탄동매나 보고때 아마들라 지jan로 가르치나 아마들라 타프스와지고 보고티 내지떡나 딘 때라 탄동매 어떤 지나서면 대세와 연구 세와 딘리지 대 적동지나 보고때 아마디 강서 가가르다 이나 아마디 때라 세와요도 소소고 생구 삼로 동네서 수보인 세와 디그때 그 하버드 버드 나 성민나니 나빠텔라 세워 마용을 그래서 코 등을 날도 등을 들리 타나 서미전 담만다와 등을 지어도 들리 타나 서미 살로만 아마디 티쇼라 마땅한 나즈 스즈 선비 에네 소소로 노바짱 때라 사버지와 지그스 사버지와 때 야시 순서만음기 냠는 소지레스
So the next stanza is about the giving arise or generating compassions and the love, a resolute love or affections toward someone who are going through great suffering and great suffering. For example, the in worldly the worldly the way of the worldly life and the system or the a custom, of course, like when we help someone, let's say we will feed him or her or give them clothes and give them place to live like our own child. And as a custom, in the future they will repay their kindness, right? They repay their kindness. But instead of doing that, they will do the opposite. In the future, they will kind of do the things that it might hurt one's feeling, and such as gossiping and telling this and that, and blaming or complaining and all kinds of things, and like this. And but the Bodhisattva, when we the Bodhisattva, instead of thinking them as a problem maker or so forth, we kind of take them as a compassionate one, the object of the pay or show our affections, the object of showing our affections. And uh, because when the Bodhisattva interact with those individuals, they usually don't look them as a bad person, but rather they distinguish between the persons and the persons their disturbed emotions. But generally, when we look someone, and whether we did good or bad, we look them as either a good person or bad person. But Bodhisattva wouldn't look like that. They will distinguish. The person itself is innocent, and is innocent, but due to the temporarily or maybe innate disturbed emotions such as anger, attachments, they are being doomed by those negativities. So they don't have any control. So whatever he or she does, they does out of attachments and aversions or ignorance and so forth. So therefore, Bodhisattva have even more compassions and affections toward him or her, thinking they are innocent. They are not like naturally they are bad, but because of those negative mind and so forth. For example, let's say the mother who have a child, like maybe the 3, 4, 5 childs or children's 3, 4, 5 children's, and and the mother will take more attentions and give more affections to the child who are going through suffering, maybe disease. Maybe there are 3, 4 children's, mother will pay more attentions and pay more affections, and give more love toward the children who is going through tremendous suffering like disease or illness. And because of mother love, the mother affections toward their children. So similarly, Bodhisattva is like this. Bodhisattva have even Bodhisattva have a more resolute thought or great love and compassion toward the individual who is going through tremendous suffering.
Lord.
So this is the practice of Bodhisattva and Judura. And the page, the number 16. If someone whom you cherish as dearly as your own child takes you for an enemy, then like a mother to love that person even more is the practice of a Bodhisattva.
That's the but the wrong to Nyamba, Mambi Kyoyi, Nargilang, Yetu Chinayans, Lamas and Kiwi Dagniki, Chorlan Bajasil. But then they on Jitin de la Neon, so Jitin de la Neon Songo Chatan, Sosu Yam the Shibdang me till Tanyo Dagam Dinang Ritamba, Sonde Ritamba, Karina Ritamba Tichila, Chado Dong, on the Tongson Argic, Young Yours. They Satan de Della Zogum can the Shigori is the Shigori in the Rampon Yambas and the Sosu Yamba and the China, Tosu the young person so to jump. Jen the wrongly test yap, so one meet the test Argic Boina, so the Yapchi Shigor, Yapshin Jong. 같이만 드세다 보통 정도 제가 지금 하고 용을 요르지. 야 롱도 냠바가 강소 된데나 다된 레섬진이 코 농을 레비트바 지긴 해야 돼 레섬지 지동 소소식신 레섬 때데 같이 오면 레섬 근능네 코베 마 메어존이 나야 소지 된 레섬 득자들 지던 레섬 고요 시실라 진짜 간다 야리 땅 콜링아 야 부투고 좀 레섬 진리고 레섬 지도 나야 기루 코 메어존 된 레섬 진리고 말 tani rong ni mamba se rong ni mamba rong ni tse nyam chong kar yun ding chane ne ba ju chane gong chane bong su chane mamba yina ko mamba ti pa shu de pa su ba zo ko de cha do ngo se cha do yo ne cha do wang ge de ko da ma da ka chen da ma da she de de chine so su ga pa su ba de mya dang go na de de dang yang go de de ge ji kam de yong go yo cha ta nye tup shi wa ngar gi lang de ngar gi de lang ngar gi dang ne 레슨도 차도 상황인 것 같아. 얘도 신나요. 라마진데 기윈데 너는 얘기 저를 봐줬어요. 그때 이제는 때라 안에 소속년이 때라 갑자기 자서 뭐 담보 진에 파쇼 때라 안에 조금 지고 조금 시스템화 되고 시스템화 멤버 차도 지는 때라 세워 토하고 차 nhập 지금 때라 조금씩 어떤 진로 토엔 로 이제 겨울에 뭐 선생님한테 데리지 소소 남도 만들어지네. 이제는 복득 메어진로 그래서 때마도 또 그런 복득 땅에 전티 말은 nhập 땅 투투당나 참참아 그런 라 렌로 로네 쇼반로 로나 소소가 콩은 도받은 접로와 용거 그렇지 미치 콜치게 세팅은 미년도 전부로 정말 때라 라면지네 띠 찬념해서 한로 근데 지금 다 좋은 거 지금 디 감나 내 땅으로 고리고를 농술 땅네 농소 땅 년적세 조등 거로 지금 이게 되게 들어와 어때라 가 봐시로 간다 지나들요 된자다 밖에 나와서 봐서 좀 나와서 오면 집에는 갈 수 있나 그런 그 미치기 졸라는 얌숙 시간이나 그런 차기로 왔어요 차길 때 있는 차때 그랬더니 센터와이나 근데 저는 말했어요 저런 때 셈마도 지네 좀마도 지네 파숙된 얌숙 시간이나 다 얌숙 니와서라 그러고 그랬어요 어떻게는 파숙된 얌숙 시간이 큐다다 차나 펜도 용어 말했어요 파숙된 차나 소라도 때 양질 니와도 파숙된 공 양질 니와제가 그랬어요 된사다 아니 저런 당보라 당보 때 차나 어떤 건 녹음에나 니와도 양질 말했어 이제 또 마상 때 송었어요 조조비 또 조조바 공통 거죠
근데 미신 눈치는 소생 공칭으로 아니
지금 만 바르고 소소만 발도 소만 비도
네 인증만으로 so here it talk about the practice of the practice of tolerance as well as the practice of compassions, and which is very essential, and in order to us to able to calm ourselves and able to live along with others harmoniously, and here is the in general or usually in this world, and we often have either the jealousy or hatred towards someone, especially jealousy. So jealousy usually arises whenever we interact with the people who are same level to us. Maybe if like a carpenter have a jealousy toward other carpenter business, or maybe the tree business have a jealousy toward the other tree business, or if I am studying a subject, if someone have the same kind of subject, I have a jealousy toward them. So jealousy usually arise. People are same level or same category, so we have a jealousy, and the people usually, when they have a jealousy, and they either criticize or they bully to us. And so whenever they see us, we are getting better or achieving the greatness in our life. So they have a jealousy, and out of jealousy, they might criticize, or they might, take revenge, or compete with one another or another persons. I think competing or competitions are good, when we are in a school or practice. Competitions among the student or the practitioner is good, but the problem is when we have a negative jealousy, our only wish is them to fail and need to, to achieve the victory. So that is one shouldn't have. And but to have a positive competitions or computing others, let's see who can achieve this. So that's good. That is the way of kind of like sharing the very greatness to others. And so therefore, whenever we have that kind of mind, or even someone doing that kind of things to me out of jealousy, either criticizing me, or computing me, or so forth out of jealousy, then we should have a great compassion, as well as the tolerance. If they criticize me out of jealousy, instead of taking revenge, we should have a tolerance, as well as the compassion toward them. And so these things are usually we have whenever we experience the greatness in our lives. So we when we get better, that gossip and criticizing usually arise. And so I think the master Chandrakirti in the middle way, I'm not sure. He mentioned that if someone if someone slap you, and if you're able to tolerate, if you're able to move on that situations, or able to maintain your patience or practice, then you are victor. You're a victor. And or if you want to have a second slap, then you agree with them again, then you get a more slap or from them. So this is just an example to have a in the practice of tolerance. And so here, number 17, even when someone who is your equal or inferior, driven by spite seeks to defame you, to place him or on the crown of your head, with the same respect you will accord your guru, is the practice of a bodhisattva.
다 좀기 받을 소위 봉성 또 메인일지 삽진 내동도 답정다 로근 등을 달라 len 시청스 신밤에 봐 야실라는지 어떤 데네 다 소소 직든디 가능할 겨완 렌살도 겨완들 양서 겨완들 리당농쇼 오늘 직든 거네 당 성화 담보요 말지 대참 딱 보이랑서 딱 봐야 자네 대롱 베베기 출라데니 비 노르롱 소왕통 무슨 소보요나 선임비기 종거는 총내에 정말 초동 단단 외니 쓰겠던데 배 망부 종거 된저다 대마 딱 봐래 딱 배롱지 인사 될라네 신착소지기 매잖아 덴리급 중국에 소수 노롱수 삼아 밤매야 차다 폰이 소위 폰성 소수 산 통점을 말하고 그런 거 봐. 신트 매니스 디카트 절라다 미 정말 nhập 지도 통종진의 소수라 낭종제 용거지 디 강라다 소수 센동다 찾긴 그 조등 맞죠 종어나 삽치 뭐 날때는 내당 돈세다 파르시텐데 망보 용 사오 적대스 하고 어는 로근 등을 넣어라 댄시 디체나 또 냠len 로 가르치고서 딴 등이 등이 등은 등도 좀롱에 빠져 종아리지 종아리 있는 종아 등아 니 등은 중앙 될라테는 로아 심진 탐증아 당한로 요비 등은 탐증이 등라 멤버 소치 제 모노자고 그러죠. 당들렌지 다 등은 당들레 요구 중 셈나 심바메 봐요. 다 미코르츠 데리강을 줘도 배 셈베 심진에 지가 다 먼저 앞에 셈 들이 자꾸 말하는데 선수 셈바는 뒤지나네 셈도 또 니와던 침보지네데 심지 탐증이 등은 당들렌지네 가 야고르서
And the next stanza is about the overcoming from the difficulties, from the suffering, and suffering could be any suffering, maybe physical suffering and suffering going through all kinds of challenges in our life. So instead of having a low self-esteem or thinking oneself is not worth it and pushing ourselves down, instead of doing that, one should arise from that difficulties with the full of courage and cherishing mind and able to stand up. So that is the is all about here, and um, again, and how we can able to before it. This is kind of a initiative kind of practice. Before it happened, what we should do is the in general, and of course, we born or when we come in this world, and we have a we have a body, we have a wealth, and we have a fame and all kinds of things in our life. And important is the even though we achieve this all of this wonderful in our life, but deep in the down, we have to understand they are impermanence. They are impermanence. We shouldn't think these are kind of permanently exist with us, because one day who knows what happened. So therefore, in deep down, we have to prepare ourselves. Whatever I achieve, whatever I have, these are all impermanent and subject to change. And for example, we can tell, we can see in our world so many things happen. Maybe today he or she have a wonderful life, full of wealth, and going to a wonderful life. And next day they end up in a jail, in a prison. We see this all kinds of things in this world, and this is the one of the message of impermanent is cannot be certain. Everything could. So there, when it happened, when we lose everything, and then all the problem will come up. People starting making gossip about me, and more obstacles I will face. And so even when we end up like that kind of situations, then we should practice this Bodhisattva practice. So what we should do is um, the when I going through this suffering or problem, so instead of thinking of I or myself, what we should think like a bodhisattva, like oh, may all sentient beings, whoever having that kind of problem, that kind of difficulties, may I able to take this all suffering to me. So this is the way of switching our way of living or way of thinking and expanding our capacity. You know, before it's like small capacity because going through so much difficulties. But if we think like a bodhisattva, we can able to expand. This is the trick. We can able to extend our capacity, so we will have a more the power and the strength, able to live, able to stand, able to move on. So therefore here mentions on stanza 19, through famous and permanent, prominent, someone to whom others bow, though you amass the riches of the God and wealth, to see that worldly splendor has no essence, and thus to be without arrogance is the practice of Bodhisattva.
니 같은 게 조종식으로 쓰라.
Yeah. Okay, let me share the story regarding this text.
네 롱때 우이 닐그 종롱이 아마 뭐런 거 먹고 통요데 ngala tende ni tang ti lo ti ti chok ni tang shekyu tin rong chire rong ma chire.
So these stories are based on true event, and my mother told me, and my mother, she saw this from, she witnessed this from her own eyes.
Te tang ta ngapse 집지 농대 막 잡네 고민당도 권치당 이막 진 타마티 권치당 토바래 권치도 톱지는 데네 권치당 깔리지 볼라 막 잡고 볼라 막 제 납청아 근데 진 다티 바로라 아니 특시 납청아 일다 볼 용소 전주시로 전주시 내 볼주 말 아니 다 야노 양홍라베 다고 그 탑수동 지금 못 가시 그런데 좀 진짜 데네 소는 다티 카트텔라 미 연도 요교지 왕차 요교 호마나 왕차 요교 삽다거든요. 다 왕자 전부 이 전부 인근. 근데 요 전부 인근 딱 전부 이거. 어때 참마다 미 미냥바 참마다 라바장 그랬대 매와줘. 내가 살지지 그랬지. 미 싸와베 저 싸와 앞에서 빠싸와 삼도 싸와 지고 잡거든요. 아니 그저배 미 냠총 호마에는 교대 조가 양지네. 네, 그도 뭐도 처음에. 네, 본준동 막 냠종들 또 미망 무슨 소리. 좀. 다 bombo몽 무슨 말. 연대바 몽고 줘. 어떻지 참아 좀 버치고 말다. 야노 야용도 차르지. 어디 카트 될라다 bombo 나말 그소 롱땅 아주 소소롱 받아 사실 주주는 bombo 주주 뭐고요. bombo 참아 냠대 좀 내가 돼. 다 초사죠. 사티 능라 초도 소지네. 근데 야미게 kondatanga kumutsu yakandi tachine, ane one da kyurongzu ngoma chuzu kodamyo tere jimbalin gorisi, da tanda chungsu kokubra arisi. Tsama kela takpa shoo chenpo uri tani mangchine kurong gyonshanro chachangchin tingola shoo shamo rongbo tindis konchine, ane mi tsama dhiri gudli. Zon ane miriri maa ti kiyong miriri la da kurongzu ngoma di kodasongdani tindri kashibe. 그 ngoma kota kyurong chosongda terang kol kyurla shiongin da shiong kashi kyurong ama 에 ngala chirago ma sonze chimba tongla sonze ne chimba kanang de de kuma butang des de la ane yang jamba pombo kola de yang pe kyunga de ko tong ko pe power se de de sonze sembar se go mar sem gun no pe chimbo niwa chimbo kar ko se de o de cho롱 에 ane cho롱 ngoma de ko ma butang nyong de dembares 다 cho롱 땅 아 de bu kar tang jon 단다 땅다 cho롱 꼭 들어가지 cho롱 pe 샤사게 난들 차통고 있는 그 가르치는 제쇼. 등 림디 킬링이요스. 림디 세도 교 하마지나 샤마마 봐도 체형 세돌러질 처면은 멤버 때니 등이 이시직이요스. 어떤니 저런 거가 저가르치는 니 등하는 거 레가인 상게. 그 뭐몽부질을 드는 뽑아 침부 시셨어. 등이 정말 하죠. 그때들이 조금 딱 좀 예를 들면 저 밑에 바오래 해서 생군 니와제로 대상 삼바 말도 이나 그때들이 생취 못해 등 생군 니와들이 용고 어떻지네 뜻지서 여보도 쇼쇼 제점도 어떤데 등 오인이 쓰지다.
So this story is revolutions in Tibet and also in China, and 40s. The communists they invaded in China. There's so much things going on. They have a two kind of opposite, and one of the opposite able to conquer, and then later they conquered Tibet in 1958, and then eventually conquer all Tibet and as well as the China. And so during that time, not only does Tibet suffer, but also civilian in China, they also suffer a lot. And many of who call them as the lord of the landlord, who have a kind of like and they lose their land, and people who have a great knowledge, they also being tormented and also so basically they said like those people are, and Tibetan we saying literally saying the green mind, green mind or outdated mind, and they should change their mind. So they they kind of like tell everyone to change the everything's, and they caught many people and they put in the prisons and so forth. So what they did like many of general been caught from the opposite side, and they brought in on the stage, and they're told toward their civilian. So now is a chance you take revenge, and people who lose their horse, so they kind of ride that person's and make them as a horse, and people who suffer from the not having a water, and they told them if you don't have a water you drink urine, and they so much thing happens, and then out of one person's among the prisoner, and it's not he's not a bodhisattva, it's not an act of bodhisattva, but it is the act of kind of like the encourage or keeping their encouragement as well as the strength of their mind. And out of the prisoners, and one prisoner stand up and he said that I believe in karma. I believe in karma, cause and effect. I believe in karma, and I did so much bad thing to all of you, and now this is the time I have to pay my. And now is the time. If you want to cut my flesh, come cut my flesh. If you want to take out my blood, you do whatever you do. So he expressed this with a full of like kind of encouragements and also uh, to the audience, and all of them kind of astonished about what he said, and they told that this prisoner is a very courage prisoner, and then others cannot do much thing about him. So this is the not actually about the actions of a bodhisattva, but it is the power of their mind.
무슨 무슨 뭐 이나 하고 말아.
Uh,
무슨 뭐 이나다 하고 말아. 내가 저요. Yeah, maybe Bodhisattva, we don't know. This is number toson romong jordels. Namtiu
이슈가
그럴까? 노방데 저기. 뭐
로선 이슈 담당하는 자
인지 로차베.
인지 로선
number toson romong jordels. Namtiu was an order to jump. Supi padu ngongo mezgini. Kongwame pa jasi lagni. Tande ngaronzo ngargil jijo manes. Ngargil said kandi ngores na. Ngargil said ngaru 년적 첨부잖아. 저도 ngargil jigiores. 로마 뭐 기십지.
로선 말해 로선아
또는 무슨 저기다 문제.
아
뭐요 뭐.
로선아
좋다.
we finished number 19, right? Yeah.
Pardon me. Temple, when we were doing 18, Geshe read 18, but you had read us 19.
Okay. But
Yeah.
did you explain the 19?
But you put them together.
Oh, just like
I think he did explain the 90.
yeah.
He told the story.
Story, yeah. The thinking the logic.
로지 대신에 말도 로지든 대신 소위 본선.
이 참나긴 로주시는 대시 자살.
네 대신에 네 살송 네 같은 로지 대신 네
네.
맨날 던지지 그러지.
Anyway, we can go again. Maybe we'll learn something new. Yeah.
스페 관주 용어 매즈니 컴팡 자세 라인스. 단도 소소라니 천년적 첨보지 미망부 기습 요하지 소소 노르롱수 푸수 소바 토와이나 토바드나 가르스나 다수 미참한 알지지 거랑 무슨 소바리 뜻지요 말스 아니 스비 푸수 용어 메즈네 지팅 감가 천년적의 노르롱조리 놀라 용어 요 말스 근데 용어에 받도 통용을 수 하는 로주디 맞다바이 메롱즈 통은 용어에 받 통용수 강화면 버렸어. 진짜 컨트롤 알기세티 마 용고 말. 선 선발도 용고 말. 지점 그 무슨 소바 통나 대점 거네. 점빈 침보 지역. 니와데 무슨 소비 수 천년 더 당하네. 별롱서도 매일 판도 지역 니와데 시침 못 참은 거 양지군. 또 마도 들었더니 컨트롤진에 밀란 용 nhập 지시야데 통송시야 선도 용고 말을 뜻이 그렇지.
So here is the practice of abrupting the one's ego or negative pride, and usually the more fortunes we accumulate, and worse negative pride we become, right? And we start to look other as down and bully and thinking I'm a rich person and I have this and that, and Bodhisattva is not like that. The more he or she got fortune, they willingly share to others. They willingly share to others. They don't keep them as a kind of show off, but rather they use this wealth to help other sentient beings, to benefit other sentient beings. And so that is what it's all about. And again, whenever we having or developing or accumulating such fortunes, so there's a great risk of we might fall into that kind of state. And it is the path of downfall that we may accumulate the negative karma, such as thinking myself as a number one, and looking down to others and show off and so on and so forth. And whenever it happened, so then again, what we should do is the great practice is the looking them as, again, as I mentioned earlier, they are impermanence. They are the subject to change, and also there's no essence. There's no essence, and cultivating the renunciations. So this is the great way to cultivate mind and defeating that evil mind whenever we have this kind of evil mind. And so therefore, number 19, though famous and prominent, someone to whom others bow, though you amass the riches of the God of wealth, to see the worldly splendors has no essence, and thus to be without arrogance is the practice of a Bodhisattva.
이 딱이 넘버 조기 파테 롱도 셰규도 넘버 조기 파테라 다다 rambu 요레 그래 넘버 조기 파티 카트텔 미텔라 아니 그런 거 왕차라레 그런 거 로통라레 그 벤줄라레 뜻지네 그런 거 미기냐 그런 등을 땅땅 렌지네 시바미 바진 왕을 동다 바차레 뜻이 뜻이적 거지
So
로가 좀 뜻이
number 18, again, though gripped by poverty and always scorned, though stricken by disease and tormented by evil spirits, to take upon yourself the negativity and suffering of every being, and never to get discouraged, is the practice of Bodhisattva. So this one is again, it's very relevant that the story that I shared, the story I shared, that persons who had everything but he lost and he become a prisoner. So instead of discouraging himself, he just stand up and kind of accept the reality and accepting this is my karma, and you should take revenge and do whatever you want.